Hello everyone, this is Sadia Malik and today we are going to do a short story called Everything That Rises Must Converge by the writer Flannery O'Connor. Please remember that this is part of the BS English Semester 3 course. The name of the course is Short Fictional Narratives and the course code is ELL 202. So let's start and talk about the writer first. So Flannery O'Connor was born in 1925 and she died in 1964 in Georgia, USA. So she died at the age of 39. She lost her father when she was 15 years old. So she wanted to have a career in politics and she wanted to become a political cartoonist, especially when it comes to journalism. She studied social sciences and journalism. She was a novelist, essayist, reviewer, and a commentator. She was fascinated by birds. So at the age of 25, she was diagnosed with lupus. This is one of the diseases which is incurable. Wrote more than 24 short stories and 2 novels while battling lupus. So in 1972, her compilation called The Complete Stories, it won the US National Book Award for fiction. So you need to remember that her compilation of short stories is also called Everything That Rises Must Converge. And in that collection, one of the story is also titled Everything That Rises Must Converge. So what about her writing style? She usually adopts a Southern Gothic style, which is like a Gothic horror, which something really bad happens. There is suspense and then there is anticipation. So it combines fiction, horror, and romanticism. It also reflects how strictly she adhered to her own Roman Catholic faith. So the morality, the level of morality is really high. Examines morality and ethics. So as far as the main themes of her stories are concerned, they are usually related to morality and ethics. Obviously, if you are from south of USA, you cannot keep race out of your writing, especially the racial discrimination that was against the African American of that time. And you need to remember that this is also a time when there was a lot of movement, freedom right movement going on as far as the African American were concerned. So that has to be there in the background. So her favorite technique is foreshadowing. So you usually know at the beginning of the story that something bad is going to happen, and she drop hints here and there, so you can look at the hints and you can somehow predict that something bad or something good is going to happen. Now about the story, it was written in her final decade, that is in the 60s, published after 6 months of her death. So it was posthumously published. Eponymous story of the short story collection. As I told you earlier, that there is a short story collection that is also named Everything That Rises Must Converge, and then within that collection there is a story that is titled the same. So the title refers to the work by Pierre Teilhard de Chardin titled Omega Point. So she was fascinated by this writer, and he also has the same title used in one of his stories. And the story won O. Henry Award in 1963 for the whole short story collection. So it is about racism, it is about family, it's about generational gap. So it's about a lot of things, but beautifully written. Now, you can't understand the story without putting it into a historical context. So you need to understand about the African American civil rights movement, which carried out from 1955 to 1968. So you need to read, and I told you to read on these three events. So this is the America where there was a lot of segregation as far as the blacks and the whites were concerned. So they had separate waiting rooms, they had separate schools, they had separate hospitals, they had even separate churches, and they were not allowed to go in each other's church. And even on the bus transport system, they used to have separate compartments where the blacks were supposed to sit and where the whites were supposed to sit. So one of the rule was that if the black is going to get on the bus, the blacks are going to sit at the back of the bus. And if a white comes on the bus, so the black was supposed to leave the seat for the white person. So that kind of racial discrimination was quite strongly embedded in the American society of that time. Then again, there's an incident from the Little Rock Central High School. There was discrimination as far as the admissions were concerned. The African American were not allowed admissions in the white schools. And then it is set in the same thing, integrated Southern United States. So then the Supreme Court had to step in and laws were made in which it was illegalized to segregate things on the base of race or the color of your skin. But the thing is that passing a law is one thing, but then getting it into the society is another, because people have been practicing the same kind of racism for such a long time that it becomes very difficult for them to change themselves and behave in a different way. So this story is placed in a moment where change was happening. We have an old school which was quite set in its habits and behavior, and then there is this new school of people who want to change, and the racism is in the center. So that is something that hasn't been fully accepted. Even now, even today, we have cases of the white policemen killing the black people, or shooting them point blank without even asking them what they are doing. So even now, racism is a very strong topic and a very hot topic when it comes to American society. Point of view is omniscient, limited. So we are using third person, but we are looking at the story from the son's point of view. So you realize that the mother's point of view is not shared that much. And we usually look at the story from a very limited, omniscient third person point of view. Now, as I just talked about this incident, Montgomery Bus Boycott, 1956, a very famous incident. And if you want to read American history, especially the civil rights movement history, you cannot understand without trying to understand this incident. So Montgomery obviously is a place. The Montgomery Bus Boycott was a political and social protest campaign against the policy of racial segregation. Segregation means differentiation, to separate the whites from the black, on the public transit system of Montgomery, Alabama. So Alabama was a state, and there the buses were segregated. The blacks were supposed to sit at the back and the white were supposed to sit at the front. And if a white gets on the bus, the black were supposed to get up and leave the seat for them. It was a seminal event in the civil rights movement in the United States. The campaign lasted from December 5th, 1955, the Monday after Rosa Parks, an American African woman, was arrested for her refusal to surrender her seat to a white person, to December 20th, 1956, almost a year. So it continued for a whole year. The blacks, they boycotted the bus service. They refused to ride on it. Why? Because this woman that you see in the picture, her name is Rosa Parks. So she was sitting in the bus and the white person boarded the bus and she refused to get up. She said that I was here first and it is my right to sit in this seat as well. And then later she was arrested because of that, because it was the law at that time that the blacks were not supposed to sit in the front. They were supposed to sit at the back, and plus they were supposed to get up and surrender their seat. So she refused to do that. And it all started with little boycott, and then it spread to the whole country. And it almost like 360 days that it lasted. And at the end, Supreme Court had to step in. As you can see here, when a federal ruling, Brower versus Gill, took effect and led to a United States Supreme Court decision that declared the Alabama and Montgomery laws that segregated buses were unconstitutional. Then the Supreme Court had to come in, and the Supreme Court gave this decision that you cannot force the blacks to sit at the back, and this segregation, this discrimination is illegal and unconstitutional. But even after that, people had a very difficult time in accepting the blacks sitting with the whites. And when you're going to read the story, the same is happening there also. Julian's mother is still living in the past, and she can't accept the black people sitting with them in the bus on the same level. So she cannot just digest the fact yet. So as you can see this picture, this is the bus number 2857 that Rosa Parks rode on that day, and she refused to give up her seat. Another political event which was based in racism was the Little Rock High School, 1957. So this Little Rock High School was predominantly white, and the blacks were not supposed to get admission. They were not allowed to study in the same schools, and it was a fact that the black schools were not of good standards. The teachers were not good, the facilities were not given. The facilities usually went to the white schools. So there was this campaign that why can't we get admission into the Little Rock High School? And then 9 black students, they were given admission at the ruling of the Supreme Court again. And then these are called the Little Rock 9, because these were the 9 black students who for the first time in the history of this school got admission. But they were usually, chanted slogan, as you can see in this picture, that this girl is walking, and this is on the school, and the white students, they are chanting slogans and they are bullying her because they wanted her to leave. And here in this picture, you can see that even army had to be posted over there in order to protect these black students from the attacks of the whites. So this is how strong the hatred was at that time. And because these were 9 students, they are also called the Little Rock Nine. Was a group of 9 African American students enrolled in Little Rock Central High School in 1957. Their enrollment was followed by the Little Rock Crisis, in which the students were initially prevented from entering the racially segregated school by Orville Forbes, the governor of Arkansas. So earlier they were given admission, but they were not allowed to enter into the school because they were black. And the order came from the governor of Arkansas. So it came from the top. And it was an unfair kind of a decision. They then attended after the intervention of the President Eisenhower. By 1957, the NAACP had registered 9 black students to attend the previously all-white Little Rock Central High, selected on the criteria of excellent grades and attendance, called the Little Rock Nine. So the president himself had to jump in, and he had to step in, and he had to overrule this decision given by the governor of Arkansas. And he said that these 9 students can be given admission and they can't be stopped from taking classes. So this is how strong it had been. The Supreme Court and the president had to step in order to just allow admission, which is like a very common thing now. But even in today's America, you can see that the black schools are usually less facilitated. They do not have good teachers. There is still a lot of dropout as far as the black schools are concerned. And still the segregation goes. Although the law has called it illegal, but as far as the society is concerned, the society still believes in that kind of segregation. As far as the characters are concerned, you have 2 or 3 main characters. There's Julian. He is the son of the main character. He is the protagonist. He grew up in the New South. New South is where the US, or you can say the Southern US after the racial integration. Integration means mingling up. The Supreme Court had passed some laws that now the blacks and the whites, they are supposed to live together, travel together, educate, get education together. So this is the New South. That is after the racial integration. An embittered recent college graduate. So he is around 25 to 27 years old and he's without a job. He feels that his mother is outdated because he is a little embarrassed by the mother because the mother belongs to the old generation. And he wants to be a writer, but obviously he's a failure because he has tried a lot of times, but still he can't become a good writer. Expects others to live up to his idealized expectations. So he is one of those people who want the world to change and they themselves don't want to change. He supports racial equality, but unable to relate to African Americans. So he's more like a hypocrite. So he criticizes his mother because the mother still lives in the past and he believes the blacks are inferior. But he himself also is a hypocrite because he wants to show people that he loves black, but still he does not know how to treat them equally. So on the bus, we can see the attitude and the hypocrisy. He wants to live in grandfather's mansion despite of the slaves. So he knows that his grandfather, who was almost like 50 or 70 years ago, where slavery was quite common, he wants to live in that mansion despite the fact that he knew that the grandfather had slaves in that house and the slaves used to work for free and the slaves were usually black, mostly black. And it's a static character, does not change from the first frame to the last frame. Then we have Julian's mother. She grew up in the southern US before integration. So her point of view about the black is that blacks and whites are supposed to live separately. They are not supposed to mingle. And there is a superiority complex as far as the white is concerned. They think that they are superior to black in every area of life. So they are better educated, they are richer, they are better placed, they are more respected. So the whites are superior to black. This is how she was brought up. So she's around 50. She's a widow and she is mentally stuck in the past and she can't somehow adjust with the new laws, etc. She is a racist. So she believes that blacks are inferior. And she's suffering from high blood pressure, and that is why she has to go to this gym to exercise to lose weight because she has high blood pressure. and she's also static, doesn't change. So now, as far as the plot summary is concerned, this is the story in a gist. Julian, the son, escorts his mother, Mrs. Chesney, this is the name of Julian's mother, to a weekly weight loss class to reduce her high blood pressure. So this is what the doctor said, that she has to lose weight because she has too much high blood. So this works as a foreshadowing. That from the very first line we realize that Mrs. Julian is not Julian's mother is not healthy, and she is a patient of high blood pressure, and the most common outcome of a high blood pressure usually is a heart attack or a stroke. So we are prepared from the very first line that something bad is going to happen. Julian's mother refuses to take the bus alone since the integration. So she wants to go with Julian because since the law had passed, the blacks could ride with the white together. So she is not comfortable riding in the bus where there would be black people also, or African American also. So she wants the son to accompany her. He wants to teach her a lesson about racism, and the son obviously is visibly not happy that why the mother is so offended by blacks riding with them. So he calls her a racist, and he says that I want to teach you a lesson. So now you have to change because the laws have changed. So you cannot be a racist now. So they boarded the bus, and she points out with relief that there were only white people on bus. So she is a racist, and she is not hiding it. So she openly says that the blacks can grow and they can make progress, but on their side of the city. So she does not want to mingle with them. So when she gets on the bus, she quite audibly tells Julian how happy she is that there are no black people on the bus. On the next stop, a well-dressed African American man boards the bus. Julian asks him for a light to teach his mother a lesson. So continuously what he's trying to do is tease the mother. So he goes and sits with this African American man, but only because he looks well-dressed. And he has a ring on his finger, and he look a little respected as far as the social status is concerned. So this also shows that Julian is also not a person who is not a racist, but he's also a racist. So he only goes to black people when he thinks that they are well off and they are well dressed. So Julian daydreams about other ways to teach her a lesson. So again, he's thinking that how can I offend my mother? So maybe if I bring a black lawyer or a professor home for dinner, so that would be one turning point. The mother would be furious because she is not ready to receive any black African American home for dinner. Or he can do is take his mother to a black doctor when she requires treatment. So another thing that she refuses is that she would not go to any black doctor for treatment. So she would only go to the white doctors. And you can't even imagine, there are still people in America who refuse treatment from black doctors, and they do not want even to touch them because they are still very racist when it comes to their mentality, and they want to be treated only by white doctors. Or the worst that he can do is bringing a black woman home and forcing his mother to accept her. So the last thing that he thinks, mentally he's enjoying himself, that he thinks that the worst that I can do is bring a black woman and introduce her as my girlfriend to my mother. So she would just have a heart attack on that moment. And then suddenly a black woman boards with her young son. So these are, the main characters. So this is how the plot is progressing. The little boy, Kawa, clambers onto the seat next to Julian's mother. So because children are least bothered about race and how the other person is looking, so this boy is totally oblivious to the skin color, and he's a very social little boy. He's very friendly. So he goes and he sits next to Julian's mother, and they are having a little peekaboo, etc. And they are and because Julian's mother, she loves children, so she starts to have a little playing with this boy. The black woman squeezes into the seat next to Julian. Julian realizes that the black woman wears the same hat as his mother. So this is very important because when Julian's mother was getting ready to go to the gym, she had this funny looking hat which was purple and yellow. And even Julian made fun of her that why are you wearing this? And she said that I love this because this is so expensive, etc. And the funny thing is that the black woman who boards the bus, she is wearing exactly the same hat. So this is a symbol, which are we going to discuss later, that how on a human level, these both women are so similar. Both are mothers of sons and both are very strong women, and they even have the taste, which is almost like similar taste as far as hats are concerned. And it also shows that the woman is not poor because she can afford a good hat to wear. So there are a lot of similarities. So if we get out of this impressions of looking at people's faces first or their skin color first, we will realize that human beings usually, mostly, they are the same. They have the same likes and dislikes, they have the same emotions, they have the same worries, they have the same pleasures. So they are not very different. So what we differentiate is on the basis of the skin color, which is totally nonsensical. It does not even make sense. So what happened was that when the stop came, both parties get down at the same stop, and then Julian's mother offered a penny to Creva. So it was a custom that usually the older women, they used to give the young boys or young girls, kids, some money. So they usually give them a nickel, but she did not have a nickel, so she gave him a penny. But that somehow triggered something very negative. Creva's mother knocks her down. So Creva's mother thought that maybe she is taking pity on the black boy because she thinks that he must be poor because he is black, so he's just giving her something like charity. So he just hits Julian's mother with a purse, a really big purse, and it knocks her down and she falls on the ground, Julian's mother. So Julian berates his mother and pulls her. So Julian also says, okay, why do you have to give pennies to black people? Why can't you understand that the time has changed and they are not going to take your leftovers from you, and they have their own life and they don't want anything to do with you. So he pulls her to get up, but she doesn't even move. She looks disoriented and sways for a moment and stumbles again, and she dies with one eye fixed on Julian. So she visibly had a stroke because she fell down. Remember, she had high blood pressure. So she had a stroke and then she just died in the spot because she could not take the shock of it, of falling down, etc. So here I have pictures, and these pictures are made by Benny Andrews. I take it from the internet. So here you can see the story in these three pictures. And this is Julian's mother and she's getting ready, and you can see the hat over there. And this is the bus, and they're almost sitting at the same level, and you can see that both women, they are wearing the same hat and they are both stuck in their worlds. Julian's mother is not ready to accept the change, and the black woman obviously is very angry because she believes that the white hates them. And that is why she's giving this penny to this little boy, Kawa, because she is taking pity, or maybe thinking inferior, that this boy is inferior and must be poor. Here you can see that she's giving that nickel, and obviously Julian is a little exasperated because he knows that, this is not going to end well, and the woman visibly looks angry. So she just hits this a little older woman with her handbag, and she knocks her down, and she died over there. So as far as the themes are concerned, the first theme, the very visible theme, is social conflict as a generational conflict also. Because people belong to different generations, they can't accept the changing time. It happens with our parents also. Something that they learned as a child, it stays with them. It becomes part of their habit, part of their behavior. And when things change outside, it is very difficult for older people to change their thinking and change their opinion. You can see how the women are quite set as far as feminism is concerned, because they think feminism is something bad, because they were raised with the ideas that men are better than women, so they cannot get out of that mind frame. But now the young girls, they are when they are growing up, they have this idea of equality and equity. So when they talk about it, the older women, they usually reject the notion. So this is a generational conflict, because one woman is from the previous generation, 50-ish, and the new generation with their new laws, they are something that doesn't really make sense to this woman. In many ways, Julian's mother still lives in the south of her ancestors, with strict social codes of conduct that determined the behavior of both whites and blacks. The blacks were slaves, the whites were masters. This is what she had learned when she was growing up. So in her mind, still the whites are masters and the blacks are slaves. So she cannot get out of that mind frame. Even though these norms no longer apply, she still adheres to the old customs to resist the startling changes that the new desegregation and anti-discrimination laws have brought. Julian, meanwhile, eagerly seeks to embrace the new integrated South, because Julian is a young man, so he believes that he should accept the change, whereas the mother is too old to change herself now, and she is quite comfortable thinking in the old ways. The second is lineage as well-being or a safety net. So it also shows that even if your past is built on slavery, money matters. So whites are usually rich, they are affluent, and that is why they are respected. And the blacks, because they haven't been given proper education and they don't get the same kind of chances, they end up being poor. So that is also another way of discriminating between the poor and the rich. For both characters, the past serves as a safety net, a place filled with prosperity and sunshine. Untroubled by poverty and social upheaval, the recalling the past allows them to continue living in the changing world they do not understand. So Julian's mother is quite comfortable thinking, oh, I used to have this mansion, my grandfather used to have slaves, and we used to live so comfortably, but now we do not have anything. And Julian also, although he says that he's not a racist, he also wants to go back to that time because he would not be able to, he doesn't have to work that much. If he goes back to that time, because the grandfather has a great plantation and the blacks are used as slaves, so he would be a rich man. But now with the changing time, obviously he has to work. So both of them, the past is like a safety net, a good place to be. Appearance as a faulty measure of reality. So this, you can call it appearance versus reality also. Both Julian and his mother rely heavily on appearance to separate and elevate themselves from the rest of the society. Julian's mother, for example, hopes that her public behavior and clothing will hide the fact that she no longer has any of the family's wealth. So when she is getting ready, the hat is very expensive, but she wants to wear it because she wants people to think that she is rich. So she does not want to show people that she does not have money any longer. In turn, she judges others on their appearance. Because she heavily depends on her appearance, she also believes that other people should be judged according to their appearance, including blacks, whom she automatically considers inferior. And the dress is one of the measures of discrimination, but as far as the skin color is concerned, whenever she sees black, she feels that she is superior. Because even if she is poor, she is still better than the blacks because she is white. So that is her way of discriminating between blacks and whites. She looks down on the African American man on the bus who wears a suit, even though he is better dressed than Julian. So this is again appearance versus reality, that there was a man who got on the bus and he's quite well dressed, even better dressed than her own son. But because he is black, she feels that he is inferior and still places herself above the large black woman on board, even though she realizes that they wear the same hideous hat. So even when the woman gets up on the bus, she realizes that they are wearing the same hat, and if both women were white, they would have a very good conversation about it. Oh, you got the same hat, where did you get it from, etc., etc. But because this is a black woman wearing the same hat, she still believes that, oh, I'm better because I'm white wearing expensive hat, because she is black. Maybe she has stolen it from somewhere, because why would a black woman would have the same kind of a hat. Now we come to symbols. Two main symbols: the hat. The same hat that Julian's mother and the large black woman wear symbolizes the transforming cultural landscape of the 1960s South, which has put the two women on equal social footing. So this also shows that the law is the same now. They can both wear the same hat. So the ground has been leveled. So there is no feeling of superiority and inferiority as far as the law is concerned. The hat visually demonstrates that both women are now essentially the same. They both ride the same public transportation. They shop in the same store, even have the same taste in clothing. It also highlights the absurdity. Absurdity is the futility, the foolishness of segregation and racial inequality, suggesting that people are more alike than different. So it is quite foolish to discriminate people on the color of their skin, because what is the difference in God's world? I mean, why is a black person thought to be inferior than a white person? Who gives the white person that kind of superiority? Is it written in any book? It is written in any law, etc., that they are superior because they are white? So it's totally absurd, because if you look at human beings, they are the same. They bleed the same. Everybody bleeds red. So it's not that the white people have blue blood and the black people have red blood. They are the same. So the color of the skin should not matter. And the second symbol is obviously the penny that Julian's mother gives to Creva, represent her patronizing attitude towards all the African. So she feels that she is high up. She is the one who gives, and the blacks are the people who take. So she is in that place of superiority. Even though she wants to give the penny out of kindness, Julian's mother fails to recognize the offer, patronizing and belittling overtones. So she doesn't realize that her giving money to the black child shows as if she's having pity at him, and she's trying to help him as far as money is concerned. Giving money to Kawa, therefore, is a symbolic continuation of the black dependence on white. Because whites have always been the masters and blacks have been the slave, the money has always gone from the white to the black. So this is a symbol of that also. Fueled by centuries of anger and the promises of growing civil rights, so the mother is obviously angry and she lashes out because she doesn't want to be the servant. So by rejecting this penny, the black woman is actually rejecting the white superiority, that she doesn't want to be subservient to the white people anymore. So she's rejecting it, but she's obviously lashing out with a lot of anger and hatred. So this has also roots in centuries long suppression that the black people have faced, and they don't want to take it anymore. And as I told you about the political events that were going on, so the black were targeted by white. They were beaten, their houses were put on fire, they were chased around. There was a girl who was gang raped by the white people. So there were a lot of bitterness, bitter incidents around, and that is why Craver mothers, you might feel that, she overreacted. She could just have said that, no, my son doesn't want your penny, and that's it. But she didn't have to hit Julian's mother, but there is a background to it. The black people had been facing these acts of ridicule and insult and patronizing by the white people for a very long time now, and they have said enough is enough and we are not going to take it anymore. And plus obviously the political background that has been set already. So this story was published, written around 1961. So this was a time when everything was quite thick as far as political upheaval is concerned. So this was the time of freedom movement. This was the time for the African American civil rights movement, etc. And there was, great animosity between the black and the white. And the incidents were too many to even record, where the whites had hit the black and where the black had, gone back and retaliated. So you can say that this was a time of hatred. This was a time of low tolerance, etc. And Julian's mother obviously does not realize that. She still believes that the things are as they were. She does not realize the gravity of situation and how the things have changed. So this shows that, she's a woman living in the past even now. Now looking at the questions, these are your questions. What clues do we get about the fate of Julian's mother? So this is about foreshadowing. So from the very first paragraph, you know that she is the patient of high blood pressure, which is also called hypertension. So she's a hypertensive woman. She needs to lose weight because the doctor has said that otherwise she is going to have trouble. So that is the foreshadowing thing. What do you think really happens at the end of the story? Will Julian find help in time? Does the mother die? Obviously she dies, because this is quite symbolic. This is the death of an era. The death of an era where the white thought that they were superior and they could do whatever they want to do with their money or their patronage. She is not a very rich woman, but she is just pretending that she is still better than the black by giving the child that penny. What's really behind Julian's anger towards his mother? Obviously, this is generation gap. Usually people feel that they are better than their parents as far as opinion is concerned. Even with you people, it must have happened that when you have an discussion with your parents, you think that they are still living in the old times. They are reserved and they are orthodox and they are very conservative, old school, as we said. So it's the same kind of relationship between Julian and his mother also. He believes that he's a new person. He is not racist, whereas the mother is very racist and she doesn't even want to hide it. She says it quite openly. Whereas the son, he wants to be the person of the new era where there is no racial discrimination. But even in Julian, we can see traces of racism. He only talks to the black person when he realizes that he was well dressed, so he can talk to him. So there is this racism in him also. Also, when the woman gets up and she sits with him, he is not happy about it. He flinches a little. So which also shows that he did not like a black woman sitting with him. Why do you think Crevor's mother doesn't want him to play with Julian's mother? What comment is O'Connor's making, if any, about integration? So this is an important question because the tolerance level is low on both sides. The whites, they are also rigid and they are racist. But on the other hand, the blacks, they are quite intolerant and they also misunderstand the white. So even an innocent gesture like giving a penny can be misinterpreted and misunderstood by these black people because of the baggage, because there's a background to how this is happening. So integration is not going fine. And integration does not even happen overnight. When something is there for centuries, like the discrimination between the black and white, which is not something new. It has been there since, and even in the Arab Peninsula, you must have heard the story of Bilal, Hazrat Bilal, and how he was discriminated because he was a slave and he was black. So this is not something new. This has been there for centuries and centuries. So even if there are laws which tell you that the black and the white are same, as far as the people's behavior is concerned, the integration takes years and years of mental reformation to accept the change. So that reformation is not there as far as the black and whites are concerned. And both are intolerant and both are fixed in their mindset. After making such a big deal about Julian's mother's new ugly hat, why do you think she isn't bothered when she sees Kawa's mother with the same hat? What does this say about her character? Does her reaction go against the idea that she's racist? Why or why not? So she believes that they are wearing the same hat, but she does not take it more seriously because she says, okay, maybe she goes to the same store. But this also shows that women, especially these two women, Julian's mother and Crever's mother, they are a lot similar than they actually think that they are. The only difference there is would be the skin color, because Julian's mother is quite fixed in her past and Crever's mother is quite fixed in her past, because she cannot see a white person giving a penny to her son because she thinks that, she's trying to be condescending and she's trying to be patronizing. So both are fixed in their mindset. So that is quite similar. And the hat also shows that they are more similar than they think they actually are. So that is it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box. Also like the video if you want, share it with your friends and subscribe the channel. Thank you so much.